Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town suffers historic drop from Billboard Hot 100 top spot. Wow. After having a reputation as one of the most polarizing songs in radio airplay, the sizzle from Jason Aldean's most recent single, Try That in a Small Town, might be fading. According to Billboard's Hot 100 Weekly update from number one, it has suffered one of the steepest drops from the top spot in history of the chart. Okay. According to the stats from Billboard magazine, the song fell from last week's number one to number 21 this week, which is the biggest fall for a song that didn't debut at number one. The largest fall from number one in history is Taylor Swift's Willow, which dropped all the way to number 38 after debuting as number one. Written by Kelly Lovelace, Neil Thrasher, Tully Kennedy, and Kurt Allison, Try That in a Small Town was released to country radio back in May as the lead single for an upcoming 11th studio album. It's about protests and riots in large cities, with Aldean saying that behavior won't fly in small towns. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag, and light it up. Yeah. You think you're tough? Well, try that in a small town. See how far that'll make it down the road. The country star sings. Aldean also references being armed with a gun from his grandfather and ready to use it. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town, he sings. The song debuted at number 24 on the Billboard Country Airplay chart on June 3rd and number 35 on the Hot Country Songs chart in the same week. Try That in a Small Town became a phenomenon after a music video was released for it and pulled from CMT. Prior to last week's number one, the video's controversy shot the single all the way up to number two on the top 100. The music video is stocked with new footage from recent years showing protests in big cities, American flags being burned, and attacks on police officers. Adding to the controversy, viewers noted that the music video was shot in front of the Murray County Courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee, where an 18-year-old black man named Henry Choate was lynched in 1927. The courthouse was also the site of the infamous Columbia race riot in 1946 that left two black men dead, more than 100 arrested, and 25 tried by jury on charges of shooting a white police officers. Despite the song going through one of the largest drops in Billboard history, it still remains in a strong position on the country charts. It only fell to number 3 on the Hot Country Songs chart between Morgan Wallen's Last Night and Luke Combs' Over the Tracy Chapman hit Fast Car. It also rose in position on the country airplay chart from number 25 to number 20. Aldean has remained steadfast in defending the song in the video. When you grow up in a small town, it's that unspoken rule of we all have each other's backs and we look out for each other. It feels like somewhere along the way, that sense of community and respect has gotten lost. Deep down, we all are ready to get back to that. I hope my new music video helps y'all know that you are not alone in feeling that way. He wrote on the social media about the song's response. Also touching on social stances, Hickman Holler Records artist Tyler Childers caused controversy in the country music industry by releasing a music video featuring a love story between two coal miners in the 1950s paired In Your Love, a single from his upcoming album Rustlin' in the Rain. After 6 studio albums, In Your Love has landed Childers his first ever place on the Billboard Hot 100, debuting number 43 and is currently number 7 on the Hot Country Songs chart, giving him his first ever top hit. Rustlin' in the Rain is due on September 8th. Yuck. Yuck. All right. Now, Aldean, this song was old. From what I found out, this song was pretty old. And to bring this song up in a racial climate as this, he wasn't thinking at all. He just thought of the fame. Okay. Plus, you wore blackface in 2015. You just couldn't understand that you were putting yourself in the hot seat. And this is what happened. Well, let's take a look deeper into that song, Try That in a Small Town. Let's look into that.
If you grew up next to a sundown town and you look like me, you know more about the song lyrics, Try That in a Small Town, than you are probably admitting to. So let's talk about it. And I'm going to go by part so we don't miss anything. So let's just talk about the first 4 lines of that song that end with act a fool. Now, let's not be acting stupid. Let's not pretend that the line act a fool at the end of that stanza, or whatever you want to call it, at the top of that song isn't referencing all the actions that came prior to the sentence act a fool. And let's not pretend that act a fool was just chosen verbiage. It was on purpose. Now let's talk about make it down the road. So when you live near or know about a sundown town, making it down a road and crossing a line is very particular language. See, when you're in a sundown town and you're talking about people of color, you run them out of your town, down that road to the city limits. They're talking about a line and a road and to not cross it. And I recommend you don't try it. I recommend you don't try crossing that line, that city limit in a small town. It's not just that they're talking about, I recommend you not acting in those behaviors. They're recommending you not crossing that city line, that county line, whatever it is. He then references good old boys. This is a very particular term. Good old boys reference white men. Period. End of story. So what this song is actually saying is, if you come down the road, if you cross that city limit of our town, and you would only know this if you knew white people that lived near or in a sundown town, because you need to know that language to understand what this song is actually saying. I remember the sundown town that I lived next to. They used to joke about the fact that there would be an alarm that would go off every night at 6 o'clock in the town. And that alarm meant that all black people better be out of the town by 6 o'clock. Like, you need to be down the road and over city lines before 6 o'clock, because you knew. And if you're too young or don't live within proximity, or you don't understand and people that are white haven't told you this, or your grandparents haven't told you this, or whatever, then you don't know that this song is actually as racist as it is.
Okay. Let's check out what Danny Collins has to say about it, who was a former white supremacist, and he used to live in a sundown town. Let's see what he got to say now. All right.
Just listen to that little clip of this song, and it's on Jason Aldean's TikTok page with this newspaper article right here. And you see this right here, and I'm going to zoom in for you in a second. We zoom in right here, you see it says NAACP, the Republican Party. Down in the bottom right, it says time, the weekly. It looks like the date says May 21st. And after we do a little digging, we find the article. It's the Petal paper in Petal, Mississippi. And here we have the NAACP, the Republican Party, like we saw. Right here you have the date, the weekly, the May 21st time. Now, what could it possibly say? It looks like it's a letter to the editor, Mr. P.D. East. Dear Mr. East, as a public relations consultant to the NAACP, I get to see many newspapers from across the country, but never have I seen anything that startled me as much as the March 15th issue of the Pedal paper with its incredible ridiculing of the White Citizens Council crowd. I'm referring specifically to the full-page ad I assume you wrote headed, "You too can be superior." I hope I'm not congratulating a dead man. This must have taken courage, and I hope you are still with us. I'm mighty curious to know what happened after you exploded this blockbuster in your community. And if you read Mr. East's response, he goes on to tell Mr. Gross that he was called an in-lover, that he'd lost over 200 subscriptions, and that he was pretty much bothered and harassed in his small town. Well, who exactly was P.D. East, may we ask? He was an American journalist who founded and edited the Pedal, Mississippi's weekly newspaper, the Pedal Paper. He's known for his use of satire to criticize white supremacy in Jim Crow-era Mississippi. And according to this article, he was ostracized from the community, he was spat on, he was threatened with violence, his newspaper lost all its subscriptions. And why would this happen to Mr. P.D. East? Because he tried that in a small town.
Pretty much, he challenged white supremacy. So we're all looking at the fact that, people want to say this is not racist. Right. Sure. Whenever some, from the South and people try to say things, for example, like this flag, for example, is my heritage. That flag represents slavery and white people owning black people in the South, in the American South. It's not racist. Yeah, it is. Like I said, this is a white man's country. Do not ever listen to any clown tell you otherwise. Anything you want to know about this channel is in the description box. Also on Spotify, Rumble, and that's about it. And Twitter. Later. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.